myth number one comes from the idea, and you hear about this on social media, it's not just about back pain, but low to middle income farmers or manual workers seem to be better off than the people in the West that sit at desks all day. So you will hear, and I'm going to go through a quote about what someone said about this, but they seem to think that because they are working manually out in the fields, tending to the land, that they seem to be sort of better off with regards to musculoskeletal pain or low back pain than people that sit at desks for 8 hours. So the quote that this comes from, there was a study done of women who carry huge loads on their back, and they looked at whether it was detrimental to their spine, and it wasn't. The spine is designed to be loaded. They had stronger necks. So the first part of this, which we kind of need to make clear, but I've got some sort of studies on my computer here, is are they holding the weight on their back or are they holding it on their head like they do in those countries? Again, it's perceived because they're being manual all day that they are better off than people that sit at desks and that are static all day. If you look at Asian countries and the paddy fields, how do they lift? ? They stand with their legs straight, fully flexed, and in Africa, they don't have ergonomic advice. So we're talking about African women, we're talking about African farmers, we're talking about people that work in paddy fields in Asia and how they stand. So you may have seen this, they will literally just be forward folded at the hips with straight legs, and they'll be picking at whatever they're picking at the floor. So this person was suggesting that because they do this, they don't have any sort of musculoskeletal problems, or to be probably better off, they don't have the problems that we have in the West because we sit all day. So I'm going to go to the first study, and this was the impact of heavy load carrying on musculoskeletal pain and disability among women in Shinyanga, I hope I've pronounced that right, region in Tanzania. So it's a study. Now these aren't sort of controlled studies. These are looking at the information that has been collected. So findings indicate a substantial burden of musculoskeletal damage and disability in this population of women who carry heavy loads daily. The extent of discomfort and disability increased with the increasing exposure to various load-carrying measures, especially for low back pain. Larger epidemiologic studies that definitively assess relationships of load carrying with musculoskeletal disorders and disabilities are warranted. So that's them basically saying we need to do more of this. But on the initial level, what's found is that they are sort of exposed to back pain. Because of their lifting, because of their carrying, they do get back pain. And the more they do, the more back pain they get, or the more discomfort they feel. So again, we have to come to the understanding that too much sitting is a problem. That I will say. It's not that we're better off over here. It's just the assumption that these active populations are better off. So if you do too much and if you do too little, you kind of get the same problem. So we need to find that sort of middle ground. Right, the second study is, again, it's another meta-analysis of 64 studies with 68,684 participants across 23 countries. And it says, narrative synthesis found associations between musculoskeletal disorders, particularly activities including heavy lifting and repetitive movement. So again, we're talking about heavy lifting can be a problem. A lot of people talk about when it comes to lower back pain that we need to continue lifting, we need to continue doing these movements. But what's being found that the people that do a lot of them are getting the same problems. So it's not that they're going from one end of the spectrum to the other. It's not that they're sitting down all day and then they go and do a load of heavy lifting in the gym. These people that are doing lifting of quite possibly sort of moderate loads, they are getting the problem as well. So musculoskeletal disorders are common in agricultural workers in low to middle income countries. Global prevalence of low back pain in farmers, particularly in Africa, is greater than previously reported. Global prevalence in the general population. So there's more of it out there than was understood before. So this is the understanding that we need to come to. These people aren't necessarily better off. They do experience back pain, and in some respects, they're kind of experiencing it the same problem, but possibly for different reasons because they're at the other end of the spectrum. This may be attributed to environmental factors and high-risk activities, which could be targeted for prevention and early intervention strategies to support individuals, prevent disability and reduce loss of productivity. So again, I repeat myself, broken record. Lifting isn't the saviour for lower back pain. Lifting can be as much of a problem for lower back pain as it is a cure. We do need to lift, and we should lift, but we have to understand how to do it, when to do it, and I'll talk a little bit more. I'll be able to link myth 1 and 2 together a little bit when I talk about that. But I just want to cover this off because I've got one more study to go through, which is the prevalence and associated risk factors of low back pain among users of primary healthcare clinics serving semi-urban and rural settlements in, and again, I'm possibly going to butcher this name, in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. So again, this was only done on 14 participants. It was a questionnaire that was done. So again, it's not a huge study, but again, it's just another common theme. So we've had first of all a small study, then quite a big study across 23 countries with nearly 70,000 people, and now we're back to a much smaller study. But essentially, in this setting where the prevalence of low back pain was high, so again, the quote that I spoke about earlier when he was saying it wasn't high, they're fine, they're bending from the hips, bending the spine, they're fine in the paddy fields, and farmers, they're not. In the setting where prevalence of low back pain was high, specialised treatments for low back pain were not available in the primary health care facility. Incorporation of such treatments will be useful for people in lower socioeconomic strata to overcome the burden of lower back pain. So it is a myth that these people that are active all day, they are tending to the land, they are farming, they are walking, they are lifting, they are carrying. It is perceived by the West that these people are, or by therapists in the West, that these people are fine and this is the type of lifestyle that we should be pursuing. Unfortunately, as we've just heard, this is incorrect. What we need to be able to do is not be too active, not be too sedentary. We need to find an optimal range in the middle. If we do become more active, we need to be able to recover properly to be able to go back to activity. If we overcook our lower back, if we overcook our spine with too much movement, too much static posture, then we're going to get a problem. Those need to be balanced. If you are in the position of lower back pain, then we need to get out, not only using exercise, but also using everyday activities to desensitize the pain. That is the most important part of any lower back pain method, if you will. And that is to desensitize the problem by not doing the problem. If the problem is created by lifting, we need to modify the lift, not only the position that you go into, it may be the load that you're carrying, it may be the position that you're carrying it. There are, again, 1,000,001 ways which I could go on about, which I'm not going to because that could take all day. But essentially, what I wanted to get across is that people in lower socioeconomic countries that are active all day aren't in a better position to people that sit all day. So don't sort of blame lifestyle as, or a particular lifestyle as the problem, and this particular lifestyle is the solution, because as a general rule, it's probably not. So we need to think about it in an even different way to that. So myth number 1 is that people in lower socioeconomical environments aren't better off because of their active lifestyle where they tend the land. They're in the exact same place.